Hello YouTube, hello everyone, and please welcome back my regular guests Ben.
Howdy.
And Cokie Pirate.
This is a gay podcast.
And you James 1978.
Hello there, this is James Escroft, James 1978, and there are no Macra! No Macra! Macra do not exist!
There you go. And that's it. I was going to open this with all hail the hypno crabs, YouTube. All hail the hypno crabs, everyone. So yes, as people may have guessed, we are discussing the Macra terror this week. The Doctor and co, concerned about an image they've seen on the scanner of a giant claw, arrive in a non-terrestrial futuristic colony. They are greeted by the unstable Medoc, who is promptly arrested by Olan, Chief of Police. The colony is having a festival which feels similar to being in a holiday camp. The Doctor remains sceptical of the colony, unnerved by the seemingly fake nature of the society and unconvinced by the well-wishes of the mysterious colony controller who appears on a television screen to welcome new guests. A somewhat underrated serial within the fandom and another offering from Ian Stewart Black, and in my opinion one of the darkest stories of the era. The Macra Terror perhaps suffers from that syndrome of containing themes and ideas that have since become science fiction cliches. What this story means to me personally, well, I'd compare the Macra with the monarchy and other parts of the British establishment. Behind the facade, something repulsive and nightmarish is lurking. This is the world in which we live. Almost certainly, though, Ian Stewart Black was A, thinking of communism, and B, influenced by Orwell, like any science fiction of this kind in this period. For some fun trivia, Peter Jeffrey later went on to play Count Grendel in Tom Baker's serial The Androids of Tara. Sandra Bryant had previously played Kitty in The War Machines, and John Harvey played Professor Brett in the same serial. Gerton Klauber had previously appeared in The Romans. The actual Macra prop was an old Volkswagen Beetle with claws stuck on it. This serial also marks the first time the intro was changed, and the first time the Doctor's face appeared in the credits. My observation for the week is that when you put a Cockney under mind control, they begin to sound less and less Cockney. Oh, and after vibrator and molestation, we can now add the old use of gay to our list. My question is, when did Polly get a haircut? So, Ben, I think this is the, also you've asked me a question, what's the intro? The opening credits is the intro, but we'll get on to that. I don't know if anybody else noticed that that this is the first time that the opening credits had changed and the first time the Doctor's face appeared, which irritates me a bit. I'll just say this, because it's not the start of a new season, it's not the start of a new Doctor, it's not companions leaving or entering the TARDIS, it's just, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. It is when you change the credits. This looks like a whim. It does, however, get rid of my old irritation, which was that brief moment in the original intro where it's called Dr. Oho. And it's like, Dr. Oho? What? But anyway, I think if the music's faster or something, it seems to start more abruptly. I don't know if maybe it's psychosomatic, but I actually think the music's slightly different itself. But anyway, Ben, your thoughts on the Mac? Yep.
Yeah, we're kind of stepping into a 1984 Orwellian world that you were talking about earlier. I mean, Ben is a horrible human being in this episode. Like, he betrays them, 3 different times. Jamie gets put off. The Doctor's just like, hey, whatever, he's being brain controlled. He's fine with it. And it's only, to the end of the episode where he actually breaks hold of it and actually saves the day at the end. And I'm like, it's kind of like... Because Ben was... The whole episode was just kind of like, I must do what I am told. I am secretly now a robot. And then Polly got a haircut during the whole, you must be converted. And then she kind of wasn't. And Jamie was just like, I had just had a bad sleep. Which I can relate with.
Okay. Well, Cokie Pirate, your thoughts on the Macra Terror?
This actually reminded me of one of the earlier episodes of New Who, where they go into a future And, it was a really interesting future. They had, like, all of this high tech, and it was run by Daleks the whole time. I forget which episode that was, but, it immediately came to mind. But, it's funny. I mean, you would know better than me if, he was, like, painting communism as the bad guy. Because I saw it like, if that was really his intention, there's a bit of irony, because you have, like, these cheer squads rooting for individual gangs of workers, to work harder than others. And it seems like right out of Marx's book of, worker alienation, labor alienation, the idea of pitting some against others, the elite doing that in order to further the cause, or further their own gain in wealth. They talk, about harvesting gas, and I thought they were talking about natural gas at first, so it seemed like, I don't know. At first, I was under the impression that this was a very left-leaning thing, but I guess that's because I associate this kind of stuff with Star Trek. But yeah, I found the story really interesting. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a cliche now, but even then, I think it's done well. But it held my interest a lot better than a lot of the other reconstructions. Jamie's machismo, it's within character, and I'm on the one hand, I'm glad that they're making him a little antiquated in that respect. But on the other hand, his machismo also really annoys me, and I don't like it. But I'm assuming that he develops and grows out of it. He's like, I'm not a lass, don't shampoo me or whatever. It's, yeah. But, in any case, the whole, subliminal messages, that was back in the time that we thought that hearing things in our sleep would actually help us learn things, which, has since been discredited, but, you have to have some kind of mind control mechanism. Wait, they did! Hold on! It wasn't... Was it the Mineverse one? It was in the first series, that they had these little discs that controlled people's mind instead of the voice.
Keys of Mariners.
Yeah. But okay, this time they used voices. I guess, it's something that, I don't know, I don't think it's the best mechanism, but you need a mechanism. So, subliminal messages. All in all, and I just like the whole idea of, like, one of the good guys, becoming one of them, and, then within their ranks questioning. This kind of thing, it happens again. It's a trope that I like. I just find it compelling and interesting, when characters go through the transformation to and back from, the other side. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this arc.
Ah, hooray. And I'm more familiar with Jamie in Series 5, where there's more stuff that actually exists. But I've always liked him as a character. But James, your thoughts on the Macra Terror?
Well, you've already mentioned the main thing which I wanted to talk about, the fact that, yes, a hypnotized Cockney is suddenly less Cockney, and becomes more Cockney subtly as he manages to break the brainwashing. But you're talking about communism, the monarchy. Where are you getting that from, Alex? I know you're a socialist, but come on. And
I feel like this is something we all see what we hate, because in this case I saw it as corporate rule.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And Alex saw it as monarchy.
I didn't really see it as anything. The only thing, listening to you talking about the various cheering squads, is the propaganda tools. Usually attractive young women in the North Korean regime who are employed by the North Korean military solely to give those kind of propaganda speeches at the beginning of working shifts, when people are literally working, being worked to death. Well, not in the labour camps, obviously, but when they're competing with each other, etc., there is a wonderful Korean film, Crossing, about one North Korean husband and father desperately struggling to get first into China, then into South Korea to try and get the medicine to save his wife. It begins with him working in a coal mine, and you've got that the stereotypical kind of propaganda pin-up saying, ignore your hunger, just fill your stomachs with water. That will help you to work for the glory of the great leader. So on and so forth. So, yes, that chant, I think it was in episode 3 or 4, what do we know? We know that control is right and that we must obey. Yes.
Also,
go ahead, Ben.
Can I throw in a few cents? Yeah. It's also kind of referencing a bit of Charlie Chaplin a little bit, with the idea of, the giant machines and, like, the idea of conformity versus individuality.
I'm not quite sure what Charlie Chaplin... Do you mean The Great Dictator?
No, I'm talking about modern times.
Well, yes. Of course. Sorry, when you said Charlie Chaplin, I thought you were referring to a specific movie. Yes, this whole collectivism versus individualism thing, I'm planning on making a 17-episode video series about it, because it's a bit more nuanced than libertarians and anti-statists make it out to be.
But back to Doctor Who. Yeah, the crab people I threw it for a whim because initially not seeing this before, it kind of threw me for a lark because, like, the guy with the beard that I forget his name on the top of my head, but he's the most controversial character in the entire script, because in the beginning he's just a crazy guy. He's just like, ah! And then halfway through the story actually gets decency and, like, actually starts talking properly, and you're like, what?
Well, that's the thing. He was never insane. That is a point which could be its very own segment. Using using the excuse of quote-unquote mental illness to control the undesirables.
Right.
Yes, because he was never insane. It was just he was used to being tortured, basically, in hospital. He couldn't trust anyone. Anyone he tried to talk to would just turn him in for more quote-unquote therapy. So, yes, punch first and ask questions later when you're under that kind of continuous long-term physical, emotional, and psychological stress, that is a natural survival mechanism. You're not going to talk to people when you're living in constant fear of being captured.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah, I believe the character's name was Medoc.
Oh, that's it.
Medoc. Good old Medoc. I mean, he's the only sane character of the entire thing, because even when, in the beginning of the episode, giving a more Doctor Who in a review of this, we basically see Medoc basically look like a crazy person, while the Doctor and everybody's getting a spa treatment. And then dun dun dun, it's an evil spa treatment place. Because, everybody but Jamie was just like, okay, let's have a good go at this, and even the Doctor's just like, oh yeah, let's tone out my muscles.
Yes, but Ben, it is just the standard switcheroo, I think the Americans call it. Ha ha ha, you think he's insane and that it's just a safe, relaxing spa, but no, he's actually the sane one, and this is the place where you will be brainwashed, etc., etc. It's a standard cliche as old as dirt, basically. It's it's not even really worth mentioning it at the end of the day. But
Yeah. So what's
You know,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that at first I thought that the whole serial would be about how they treat, the mentally ill or something that's making them hallucinate. But at the same time, I was thinking, well, that doesn't really incorporate the giant crab. So I was wondering about that. Which could have been an interesting story in its own right, like if they're constantly sort of re-educating people and they constantly break down and need to be re-educated. Um, but yes, giant crabs. The giant crabs were real all along.
Yep.
Yes, as I said at the beginning, there are no Macra. Yes, really convincing, mate. or or as Ben would have put it in his full Cockney, non-brainwashed state. Yeah, pull the other one, mate. It rings.
Indeed.
And
Yeah.
and the macro will continue later on for you Doctor Who fans in the 10th episode Gridlock, which doesn't make any bit of sense why they're there.
Yeah, they're kind of thrown in to have a monster, to have a threat beyond the kind of to have an actual physical threat, because Doctor Who has to have a monster. In fact, yes, this whole thing, this didn't really need giant crabs either, technically. It's just you tune into Doctor Who, it's become much more of a monster show.
Whilst they didn't have to be giant crab monsters, the concept that the colony had been surreptitiously taken over by an alien species native to the planet, which was utterly dependent on the gas, which was lethal to humans, that that makes sense. It's not as if it could have. It's not as if it could have just been the Illuminati in charge of the whole thing at the beginning. That wouldn't. It would have been a good drama or a good allegory of what many people think is the modern corporate world, or what have you, or communism, etc. But in order for it to be science fiction, really, in order for it to be satisfying, this idea of the Macra as parasites, basically enslaving the colonists with happiness.
Yeah.
Oh, random question. Are you guys already did the moon base, right?
Yeah.
Okay, double check. Because my continuity alarm was going off when I was just like, wait, hold on, we did the one and not the other. Never mind. But back to math stuff. Why do you think? My question is, like, if they're pumping in all this gas, and gas is the one thing that needs to survive, there's a cutoff point where literally everyone just switches over. Like, the macro are defeated, and then, like, everyone's happy. And I'm like, what?
The Macra were... No, this is one of the problems with the reconstruction. You didn't hear the explosion. They, when Medoc and Polly, Ben, and Jamie, three companions, were down in the mine as part of the Danger Gang, Medoc, in exposition, explained that, that it's a gas strike. The alarm's going off, people are evacuating. Every now and again, there is a pocket of too much gas. If the pressure is too high, it explodes. So, what the Doctor did at the very end was pump all of the oxygen out, all of our air, pump pure, 100% concentrated Macra gas, for lack of a better name, into the part of the colony which had been completely infested by the Macra. Remember, the office where the controller is supposed to be the old shaft, etc., and that high pressure naturally caused it to explode. So the Macra saying, no, at that high pressure the humans will die as well. No, the Doctor, again earlier, the Doctor had figured out all of the principles. He had reversed engineered the entire gas system which the humans had been directed to create under Macra control. So he had calculated that, yes, we can destroy the Macra-infested part of the colony, and the human colony will survive. But that was an interesting point at the end. After the power of the Daleks, where they have to skip off quickly before they give us the bill, hand us the bill for destroying their power supply. This time, there is a party. They are being thanked and celebrated, complete with a brass band. But
literally,
they're going to make us permanent members of the colony and elect you pilot. Oh my word, time to go.
Right, and I assume that I don't know why it's called pilot though. Like, why isn't it called like Grand Master? Or I don't get why the whole rest of it's like being in the Air Force.
Well, because when the colony originally came from Earth, the ship controller would have been total control. The pilots would have been the second in command, and so forth. And so they just kept the titles.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Just didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
I think the whole, oh, Doctor, you should stay and be our leader thing, I suppose it might have been mildly suggested in The Savages, but it becomes, not exactly a trope, but it is a thing that occurs, starts to happen in classic Who. The people that the Doctor saved say, oh, you should stay and be our leader.
Oh, yes, that it is true. It does become a trope, but in this case, I think it was one of the great comedy moments, like at the end of The Dominators, which we haven't seen yet, Cocky or Ben. Yeah, don't worry, it's only going to be a minor, localized volcanic eruption. It'll only affect the island. Yes, Doctor, but we happen to be standing on the island. Oh, my word!
This actually was one of the arcs that I was thinking when the curfew bells went off. I'm thinking now would be a good time to leave. That's the thing. The TARDIS is there, and they didn't really give a reason for them to not go back into TARDIS and just get out of there.
Yes, Cocky, this is around the point where they stop even trying to come up with excuses why they don't just go into the TARDIS. It's like we were saying last week about the TARDIS just happening to land on the moon at the exact moment that the Cybermen are launching their attack. It's just, that is the basis of Doctor Who. They arrive just at the right or wrong moments, depending on your point of view, and they don't leave because if they left, there wouldn't be a story. Yeah, they don't leave because reasons.
But seriously, there was some serious bad mojo at that point. Like, anyone walking around outside of curfew will be shot. That's a good time to realize, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be here.
Oh,
you know.
Oh,
and after that, I still would have gone, but that would have meant leaving Ben behind. But I don't like Ben, so whatever.
Oh yes, that's.
If this was Fifth Doctor.
Sorry, that's the other unspoken or hinted at method when you have two or more companions. No, we can't leave without insert kidnapped or coffee making person here. Speaking of coffee making, though, they were desperately struggling to find a role for all three of them. But I think that they did separate it well. The whole point of Ben being brainwashed, I do think that was added to the script to give him a role. Jamie was the fugitive, the kind of the tough guy, the role usually taken by Ben. And this time, instead of just making coffee, Polly was the actual companion in the sense that she was the avatar for the audience. the Doctor messing around with the pipes and dials, etc. What are you doing, Doctor? How are we going to save Jamie? How are we going to defeat the Macra, etc., etc.? You know, oh, Polly, where would exposition be without you?
Also, I think the working titles for this episode would have made it a very different. Example, the alternate titles for this episode, I'm just looking on the Wikipedia page, is the Spider-Man, the Insect Men, or the Macras. So I think it would have been making a lot more sense if it was the Spider-Men.
Well, this would have been in the days before when did the original Spider-Man comic come out?
66. So this is right around the same time period.
But no. The point is, they're not spiders. They're not insects. They're crabs. What?
I know that.
I was honestly, the first time I saw it, I was honestly expecting the Doctor to say, "Okay, we need the world's the galaxy's largest boiling pot of water."
Yes, and then we'll have a crab legs later. Because, I mean, like, crabs aren't that threatening versus a spider where it could have been stuck in the web or...
Oh,
they have lost episode of...
A spider is very... it's very difficult to do well, especially given the incredibly limited budget and limited special effects of the time. It is much easier to just stick a pair of eye stalks and... claws on an old Volkswagen Beetle.
That's true. Old Volkswagen Beetle's easier to come by.
There you go.
Yes.
I'm always just going to be grateful it's not the Macra.
Am I the only person in the world who likes the Macra?
There are other people who like...
No,
yeah.
James is the only one. And the Zarbi. Let's not forget the Zarbi. They were horrible.
Yeah.
I think the only objection I have to the Web Planet is the noise. I can understand why people are so annoyed by it. I think that's the thing, because the fish people in the Underwater Menace are my Menoptera. They're not popular in the fandom, but I like them. But at least the thing is, though, they're fish. They don't really make any noise. So... But yes, the all 6 episodes of the Web Planet in a row, the attack on the senses. But anyway, we're not supposed. That was several seasons ago, but I like fish people. I defend the fish people in the fandom.
No, the fish people are great in comparison to this like crab thing, where the entire time. Because it wasn't even revealed that crab people are even there until, like, they wanted to talk to Controller, and Controller's like, oh, hello, yes. And it's like he's completely different from the picture they usually show of him. And I'm like, what? It's like if North Korea had Kim Jong-un just, like, actually have a real shot of him just being really, really sad.
No, but that was the whole point. Just want to stress here for anyone who watches my YouTube videos, I am not an evil insect monster come to enslave the human race, pretending to be you, James 1978. I am the true you, James 1978. I am not simply using a synthesizer to copy his voice.
Isn't that exactly what an insect controlling you, James 1978, would say, though?
There are no insects controlled in New James 1978. They do not exist.
Oh no, pilot, no! Explosions.
Explosions, indeed. I would like to say that one of the reasons I call this one of the darkest stories of the era is that scene where we see the Controller and he's a frail old man who's lost his marbles. So I think there's something very, very dark about that.
Oh yes. Again, Ben, you were just kind of blowing it off. Oh, no, he is enslaved. He is imprisoned. He has been kept there in that little room with nothing but a terrorizing crab for company for decades. How the fuck do you expect him to look?
Well, yes, indeed. I'm still saying I find the scene very dark.
Oh, yes, no one's questioning that. I'm sorry, I was just having a go at Ben for his... sorry. But, yes, it is a very dark. It's mind control, slavery, betrayal, a parasitic species controlling an entire population, non-conformists being brainwashed, tortured under the guise of treatments, under the excuse that they are mentally ill. It is an incredibly dark serial.
But on the upscale, Jamie actually does stuff.
Yes, again,
cop.
as I said before, this is the principal reason why Ben had to be brainwashed. So that it would be reduced to just 2 companions. Otherwise, you end up with the old Ian dilemma of him having to go off and try to rescue Barbara every week when she's already rescued herself. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
when you guys brought up the pilot, or not the controller's appearance, it reminded me of because they always had images of him younger, and it just reminded me of the whole North Korea pictures of dear leader everywhere. That just immediately sprung to mind. Like that picture from who knows how many years ago. That was him, but he's obviously changed since.
Yes, the principle of the dictator, the immortal dictator's glorious image. The paint, as you say, the supreme leader. The Kim Jong-il's father, the original leader of North Korea, who was deified by the regime, and Saddam Hussein, the fact that Baghdad was basically his own private photo album. Giant portraits of him everywhere.
Well, that's just because they didn't have Facebook. I mean...
Yeah, that's all you have to do is. Oh, sorry, I'm not even gonna go
there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of landmark BBC things, because if you're British, television didn't really start until after World War II. So people went out and bought televisions for the coronation in '53, and landmark stuff in the '50s was often written by Nigel Neal, who's the man behind Quatermass. But he also adapted 1984 for the BBC twice, no less. In fact, the Big Brother from the BBC 1984 is reused. The actual image is reused in a Doctor Who we'll get to called Inferno. In a serial that again had some 1984 connotations. And Nigel Neal also wrote. It's a television play called The Year of the Sex Olympics.
What?
And yes, it's actually called The Year of the Sex Olympics, and it's kind of a new take on the Orwellian dystopia, but it kind of predicts reality television, but its reality television is kind of used to sedate the masses. But anyway, so this kind of science fiction was very popular on the BBC before Doctor Who even began. I think this was very much... I think Ian Stewart Black is a protege of Nigel Neal.
Yes, that's the thing, though. The fact that some people see corporatism, some people see the monarchy, Alex, I still don't know where you're getting that from.
Right, okay.
But
the monarchy are, ooh, look at the pretty shininess, ooh, they're real-life princesses, to the point where when Kate Middleton was in New York recently, children thought she was Elsa from Frozen. Like, oh, look at the pretty thing, aren't they? People think it really matters when they get married and have babies. Whereas, and just this week, new privacy laws were passed to protect the royal family. And if you need special privacy laws to hide what you're doing, there is a reason. The monarchy are an atrocity that look pretty. It's about the facade.
But are they crab people? Are they crab people is the question.
Almost certainly.
My question about, since I'm American, is the main difference between the royal family and American celebrities is your tax dollars pay for them?
Well, yes, and they're born to it.
Oh no, and they no longer receive any taxpayers' money.
Oh.
They live off a small percentage of the revenue from the Crown Woods. The property owned ostensibly by the royal family. They don't even get more than 80% of that. 80% of that goes into maintaining the woods as national parks, etc.
Right.
So
I don't know, like, from a point of view of someone who's not dealing with the royal family on a daily basis, I don't know, I just think of them as more of a novelty, like something that you guys brought back because, you know, sorry, going off of Doctor Who for a minute, but
deal with the monarchy on a daily basis? How often do British people see the monarchy?
Yeah.
Well, they're always in the fucking papers because all they have to do is perform a bodily function or something. It's like,
Yes, but there is a difference between being the figureheads of a nation and being a evil parasite, enslaving people,
Right.
literally killing people, using mind control to force a society to, your idea of the monarchy may once existed, Alex, but that's not the monarchy of 2014. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, that it is problematic in some ways, but for fuck's sake, dude, take a chill pill.
I think this is becoming...
I mean, even from an American point of view, I don't see... It's not like V for Vendetta, where you have someone in charge. Yeah, this is frickin' V for Vendetta, if you think about it. Like, all the tropes of the Macra Terror are definitely used in V for Vendetta. The whole idea of, you know, a pulpit telling the people what to do every day, and the whole... Yeah, I can totally see, like, a crossover with this.
Oh, yes, as we were saying, it's not necessarily the basis of such science fiction tropes, but it is a very good example of them. I think one of the problems that we're having sticking to the story of the Macra Terror is that, in spite of, and perhaps even because of, the fact it's such a well-structured story, it flows together so beautifully, aside from some problems, like how the Macra are destroyed at the end, which is largely down to the fact that it's a reconstruction. You know, we can't really talk about it without talking about the issues that it brings up, or other TV series that came before it and films that came after it. You know, the concepts which they explore, the science fiction tropes which this serial explores, are so ubiquitous, so much a part of the collective unconscious, so much a part of the reason why science fiction exists in the first place, using the future alien planets, alien species, future technology, etc., to explore the ethical, moral, and social questions of today. The story itself, excellent, but it's secondary compared to the issues which it explores, which is why we have been doing an Ian Warner throughout so much of this podcast.
I would say that a key difference between this, Ben used the example of V for Vendetta, and this is true for pretty much every Doctor Who scenario. Well, not every, but for a lot of them, In V for Vendetta, it was this whole collective. People stopped watching the television, stopped listening to the lies they fed, joined the resistance. And in Doctor Who, there's often that element of sort of gearing up the people to resist or whatever. But Doctor Who is much more like a superhero story in that, as opposed to empowering the people, though they often do empower the people, they are saviors. They figure out the problem. In this case, the Doctor's super genius is kind of shown. We're reminded that he's from this far off time where he learned all sorts of stuff, and the idea is that these people they go in and they save the day. I'd say it's I'd say it's actually more so with this Doctor than the previous Doctor, though it was evident from the previous Doctor that the Doctor and companions, they are saviors. They fix the problems.
Yes, this was a serious problem in it has been a serious problem throughout New Who, which strangely enough I think Moffat has tried to fix now with the end of Series 8, because through the Russell T Davies series era, in particular, the portrayal of the Doctor, as Stuart Hardy put it, as Space Jesus, that he is the literal saviour. And no, it's not. No companion can just be a good character. They have to be the most important person in the universe. No, calm down. I'm not a good man. I'm not a bad man. I'm an idiot with a blue box who flies around interfering and doing the best that I can.
Can I point out, we've actually got James positively quoting a Moffat line from an episode he hates.
Well, this is the thing, though. Do we have a jar for rants defending Moffat or praising him?
That's the point. Where's the jar?
No, but this is the opposite of a Moffat jar.
What's the opposite of shaking a jar? Not shaking a jar. Oh, there you go. I'm literally not shaking something at you. Okay.
God, that sounded dirty.
Well.
Oh, God.
That's life for you.
I'm saying nothing.
That's what he said.
But I think no. Moffat. Well, okay, we're spinning off of things because we can't deal with this frickin' plot, because the plot is just so much like every other thing else. I mean, come on, we can talk about Lost in Space. We could talk about Avengers.
Sorry, Ben. No matter how well constructed the story is, it is formulaic to the point of being able to connect the dots.
Yeah, but without this kind of stories, I don't think Doctor Who writers would really know where to go. I mean, if let's just say the script never existed, it's kind of like, the trope of the whole 1984 thing wouldn't really get. I don't know. Like, maybe this will go over it, but it's just nice to have that, like, part of a Doctor Who lineage, so writers can look back in the past and at least reference it.
No, that wasn't a criticism of this episode in any way, shape, form, or fashion. If anything, in fact, it's praise. The fact that the story is so well done, it is such a mainstay of science fiction, that these tropes have become the basis of so many other stories, so many other concepts, with each inspiring the other. But so yes, as you say, it's good that there are these classic series serials, which are, or cornflakes as they would be called in Puerto Rico, Cocky. But
yes,
they're not cereals.
Oh,
they're not.
God, that fun.
They're not
Why?
cereals. They're just cornflakes. Well, I was saying before we started recording that, like Hoover is a name for vacuum cleaner in Puerto Rico, cornflake is a generic name for cereals. So.
Yes, I understand that aspect of the joke, but why pun? Why pun?
because I wanted to and because I could. But anyway, yes, there are the great standalone serials which have never been copied, never been equaled, never been repeated, and then there are ones like this which are as Alex explained, going through what was the writer's name? The writer who
Nigel Neal.
Nigel Neal, yes, I thought so. From Nigel Neal through Ian Stewart Black through to the writer of V for Vendetta. It's good to see that kind of unbroken line in science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm just reminded of it was a chase where it was like, I'm the doctor. No, I'm the doctor. You know, and I was asking, was this as common a cliche at that time? Which I suppose is a question that we should be asking. Is this like the cliche maker, or is it, you know, a cliche follower? It's hard when you're looking this far back. I mean, yeah, 1984 existed, but was it as common or cliche a trope at the time?
No. In a word, no. The original Doctor Who is what brought these tropes to the masses. Again, although Quatermass was by far, without a doubt, one of the most popular, if not the most popular, British science fiction series of the 1950s, it was probably the only, and more importantly, a much smaller percentage of the British population actually owned a television set. So,
yeah, as I say, in 1953, when the coronation happened, and it was the first time that us commoners could see a coronation, enough people bought TVs that every street had one.
yes, but
So
now, by the mid-60s, only now would it be every other house on a street, or one out of every 3 houses on a street had a television set. So now, whilst science fiction writers and things like Quatermass on television already existed and could have already used these tropes, it was the original Doctor Who in the 1960s and across the pond Star Trek around the same time, which actually popularised them, which brought them to the masses.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course the funny story there being that there were British people who think that Star Trek was a black and white show that was later colourised, because of course British people would originally have seen Star Trek in black and white.
Yeah. Oh, but yes, it's kind of like think of it like the PC revolution of the 1980s and 90s, or the internet revolution of the early 2000s. Yes, the internet, in some form, not as we know it today, and computers existed well before that point. It's just that these were, things like Apple, Microsoft, and the actual Al Gore bringing it together as the internet. That's what brought it to the masses. It's all very well writing the most original and earth-shattering science fiction story ever written, but if you were living before the period of mass entertainment, etc., it would have been only a small fraction of the population would have read it or seen it.
Yeah. No, and I was just looking at Quatermass, and I'm like, wait a minute. Quatermass could have been as big as Doctor Who in 2005. And I was like, what? But that's a separate thing.
Yeah, it could have been just as big as Doctor Who, if not even bigger, but the thing is that it was created 10 years too early.
Yep.
Yes, I mean, the writer, in fact, because Quatermass inspired the X-Files people wanted Nigel Neal, who was still alive in the 90s, they really wanted him to write for them. he just didn't like the style of modern television. He said the X-Files was quote-unquote about two mumbling actors. So, of course, you've gone from the 1950s style of acting and direction to X-Files, I suppose, very understated.
Yes, that's something that you always complained about in the Hartnell era, Cocky. The fact that because all of the actors on Doctor Who were thespian Shakespearean stage actors primarily. The acting was so over the top and dramatic and making sure that the people in the cheap seats could hear you. But would you say that it's becoming more subdued now as we approach the end of Jamie and Ben and Polly's era?
Yeah, definitely. The acting, I do like it better. And, not just that they toned it down, but I feel like they're willing to, or not willing, well, I guess willing. I don't know. They're better at keeping the mood as opposed to the earlier ones. And I'm guessing this is because it's been, like a year or two now. How long has Doctor Who been running at this point?
It's in its third year.
In its third year. Yeah, so I'm guessing, they're getting used to TV as a medium. Because it's not just the actors. I'd imagine the directors were also initially treating it like a play. And, are now treating it more like its own thing.
Mm.
But yeah, TV is a thing now. And does anybody have, because I'm going to wrap up quite soon, any opinions to express over the new intro, complete with Troughton's Space?
Well,
as you said at the beginning, Alex, why now? Either do it at the beginning of the Troughton era or at the beginning of the next series. Why now?
As I think there's some serious OCDing going on in this group now.
Well, I mean, I still think they're trying to go off of the first Doctor intro, so they're just kind of like, well, we should probably change it up, and because you know how creative people are, there's deadlines, and you probably went under budget or over budget or something like that, so it's like, okay, fine, here's the intro, leave me alone.
They could have waited until season 5.
Yeah.
They could have, but it was done now, so let's show it now.
Okay.
Honestly, the time did it. No, actually, when I found myself questioning, was like, wait, was this here the last two serials? I just assumed that I simply misremembered the last couple of serials. It's not the timing, but why his face, I guess. It's just... I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad that it's no longer Dr. Oho, but I don't know.
Most Doctors have their face in the intro. It was something where when Doctor Who came back in 2005, they were like, oh, his face isn't in the credits. Mind you, the American one didn't either. But yeah, I think all classic Doctors will now have their face in the title one way or another. And yes, it was something people were very pleased with that they brought it back with.
Rather that since 2005, all of the every intro sequence has had the TARDIS instead of the Doctor's face.
Yes, but they started bringing towards the end of the Matt Smith era. They started bringing Matt Smith's face in, and Capaldi, you get the kind of eyes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The TARDIS does appear in some of the classic intros. It's definitely in the McCoy one.
Yeah. I think it starts in the Davison era.
It might start in the Davison era. I think there might be the outline of the TARDIS in some versions of the Tunnel intro from late Pertwee, early...
Oh yes, that's correct. Excuse me.
Yeah. So anyway, yes. So I would say,
we have filled our geek nerd quota for this podcast.
Yeah, so a smoother, faster intro sequence for the Troughton era, but for some reason, two serials from the end of the season. Why? But never mind.
Yes, and only one more Ben and Polly serial. So, Koki, you only have to deal with... Yeah. So, Ben? Hello?
Oh,
Hello?
I'm here.
But,
Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying something.
But
Oh,
yes, Cocky, you only have to put up with Ben and Polly for one more serial, just 6 more episodes.
This was like the one serial that they didn't particularly bother me. I thought they were done well. This serial, I just generally like it. This is the serial that
Yes,
you know, I
again,
convinced.
it's the Dodo syndrome. They just start to come together. The writers finally figure out how to lever 3 companions into a story with a large supporting cast, and it's the end of their tenure.
Yep. Even happens nowadays with good old Amy.
Oh, you thought that Amy was improving just as they got rid of her?
Yeah, totally. Like the whole Amy and Rory style is very similar to Ben and Polly, where they actually are getting to a point, their chemistry is going really, really well, and then they axe them off.
Oh, okay. I was, because a lot of people found Amy annoying, but I only found Amy annoying towards the end. With that whole stupid divorce business, where, seriously, it takes 2 years to get a divorce in the UK if you don't give a reason, and all it took was for you to sit down and talk to your husband. That just.
But then there wouldn't have been a dramatic will they, won't they plot. But I don't love you anymore. Oh, I do love you actually. I still can't find a fuck to give.
I'm a little embarrassed for how long it took me to realize which Amy you were talking about.
Anyway, I think...
Yes, Rory and Amy, yes. Huh?
I'm going to have to shake the jar at all of us, including myself.
Wait, what? What did I do? I'm an innocent victim of Moffat jar shaking.
I also want to say that when I shook my jar, the cat darted out of the room like a bat out of hell. I had no idea that noise would scare a cat. Sorry, cat.
Nissa will never say anything bad about Moffat again.
To be fair, I do think of all the criticisms of Moffat, is actually among the fairer.
But back to the Macra Terra, it's definitely a bit of a terror. It's a bit of a mystery for the Doctor and Jamie and Ben and everybody to come up with, and it's kind of interesting that we've seen this episode, even though there technically no actual full footage exists.
Yeah,
it's amazing because in the 60s, like in the 70s, when people wanted to watch this, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Indeed, this is true.
Oh, I just want to go full feminazi SJW cultural Marxist in here. You say a mystery for the Doctor and Ben and Jamie and everyone. Check your privilege. Her name is Polly.
And Polly.
Ah, yes. You didn't know you'd walked into a lion's den of SJWs. Anyway, I would like to move on to high point, low point, if I may. So, Ben, do you have a particular high point and low point for the serial?
High point for me was, like, finding the dramatic tension of figuring out, oh my god, there is giant crabs controlling everything. Because before this point, I thought it was just a spa planet where everyone had spa treatments and everything was great. ... Low point I always thought was just like Jamie from the get-go realizing that he didn't really want a spa treatment. Like, initially it was all fun and cute, and then it just was like, it didn't really go... Like, I guess it was trying to preemptively like say, hey, he can't be brainwashed, but it just seemed like to me that he doesn't like spas.
Well, some things for his mindset would seem very strange. And I guess you'd be naturally suspicious if your journey, to use a pretentious term, is Jamie's.
then I think you are more naturally suspicious.
Right, especially when hot girls randomly trying to take care of your every need.
There you go. Have I died? And Koki, your high point and low point.
I'm trying really hard to think about this because I really liked this show, and at my low point, I'd agree it's Jamie resisting the spa treatment, but I'm having difficulty with a high point. I guess I really did like that they made the Dr. Science-y. It's like, how did you figure out this formula? Well, I had some help. It's like, all right, who helped you? It's like, no, not who. I just saw the dials or whatever, and I guess I liked that little reminder that the Doctor would be someone, because it's also sort of a shift in powers. Like, yeah, I could just tear apart this whole thing. But yeah, no point. I'm not a lass. Like, seriously, Jamie, for realsies.
Again, from another century, and James, your high point and low point.
The serial was just so well done. Ben, I'm not sure if it's just that it was a reconstruction or that you maybe just weren't connecting empathically with all of the little subtle warnings that there were. All of the groundwork that was laid before the big reveal that yes, the Macra are in control of the colony, that the controller is actually a giant crab determined to enslave the human race. Unlike you, James 1978. You, James 1978, is a real human being. So, again, the way that the groundwork was laid, etc., that was all done. Nobody laughed at my joke. Okay, moving on.
I was muted, and I was.
But my joint high point and low point simultaneously is the chant. What do we know? We know that control is right, and that we must obey. It is the perfect example of how this society is run, how happiness and conformity is the norm, is imposed. Not smiling is punishable by death, but that's what it's getting at. So much more realistic, subtle, and well done than the Sylvester McCoy serial, The Happiness Patrol. But yes, as someone who once studied psychology, this is how you propagandize. This is how you motivate an enslaved population. As I say, this is the tool that they use in regimes like North Korea to motivate people who are being forced to compete whilst coal mining, compete against each other whilst starving to death. So yes, it terrifies. That scene, it's almost portrayed as light and a joke, but if you actually understand what it is and what it represents, it terrifies the living shit out of me precisely because, yes, this is what a good propagandist would do. And then there's the kind of the comedy scene with Jamie. Oh, you must be one of the dancers. Why do you call it the Highland Fling? Because we fling ourselves out of the door. Kind of an unnecessary comedy scene there, but as I say,
I did like it.
Yeah, it was. That scene, that chant was my simultaneous high points and low points. If it was live action, if the serial did still exist, if I was to watch that full life, and the actors probably doing a great job of having the fake forced on smiles. My skin would be turning white. I would literally be trembling at that scene.
Oh, and I'm sorry, this it just came into my mind, but actually we didn't talk about it. I just want to point, I really like the way they used music as the instrument of oppression and the way they
Again,
incorporate.
again, that the music throughout is the same kind of propaganda. It is the same kind of propaganda tool. So yes, all of that throughout the series, and also when they're in the sleep chambers or whatever it is, and the subliminal message is being played, the fact that the voice is so soft, so gentle, so reassuring as it's enslaving you, is, as Jamie pointed out, it was so evil, even though it spoke so gently. So, yes, all of that culminating in that one scene of the chant.
Oh, and random point, all of Ian Stewart Black's scripts are all 1984 styles. It's in the future, everybody's scared, and there's generally a giant meanie that's gonna beat you up.
Yeah, he did write The Savages. I'm not sure which ones he goes on to write later. But,
he writes The War Machines, and this is the last one with the Macra. That's the last one he ever wrote for Doctor Who.
Okay, well, The War Machine isn't quite 1984.
Yeah,
no, The War Machine
but the Savages is the same kind of style.
Yeah, Savages, yeah. So yeah, The War Machines probably is the least good of his. For some reason I thought it was Kit Pedler who wrote The War Machines, or did they both write it?
Well, it might have been a collab, but he definitely helped.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the Savages and the Macra Terror, a couple of true great.
Of the two, I would say that the Savages is my favourite because it stands alone as an episode. As a serial, it stands out as an episode, as a serial in itself. But as we've discussed, this isn't taking away from the Macra Terror at all. It is so influenced by previous works, and it has so much influence on science fiction in the future. It's very difficult to talk about it as a story in itself.
Right.
Yeah. It's I think that the Savages, of course, doesn't have the you've got to have a monster effect.
Well, no, but the greatest monster of all, human greed and our willingness to dehumanize each other.
Yeah. Okay, so hang on. Can I think of mine? I think my high point is the very chilling scene with the reveal of the truth about the the name's gone. The controller. Low point, I'm going to be lazy and say simply the fact that it doesn't exist. And as Ben said, literally all of the episodes are missing this time, which is just so annoying. And
there's a piece that exists.
There's a few clips, yeah.
Can I just point out the comedy moments in the spa scene before Jamie is dragged away? Oh my God, these gorgeous women are going to satisfy my every whim. Oh, yes, Jamie, fight, struggle. But, no, it's... we can have all kinds of treatments here. There are massages, effervescent sprays. You, of course, sir, will want to have your clothes cleaned. It's so sad that it's a reconstruction because obviously he would have been talking about the Doctor. I want to see Patrick Troughton's face when he hears that masked remark, and also once he's been to have his clothes cleaned, been done up. Oh, Polly says, "Oh, Doctor, you look super. Look at my shoes." Ben, "Oh, what's wrong? You can see your face in them." Exactly. Who wants to see their face in a pair of suede shoes?
Okay. If we go round and have our final thoughts and goodbye, Ben.
Well, this is definitely one for the picture books. It's the Macra Terror. Things explode. There's no And there is an explosion, but we don't even see it. Whatever. It was interesting.
And Kofi?
Hey, I should note that there were no actual Macrons in the reconstruction, and if you saw them, then you may want to visit a certain facility. But may the hamster of prosperity and giant enemy crabs be upon your head.
And James?
Yes, an excellent serial. If there is such a thing as a course in the history of science fiction at any university in the world, this would be one of the required serials to watch. This would be part of the course. And may the great holy donkey bless your house free of Macra for 7 generations.
Aha! So then, without further ado, please join us next week, folks, when we will be returning to contemporary, or then contemporary England, for Ben and Polly's final serial, The Faceless Ones.